that is different than the patient information?
You mean,
So you have identified, right, from a PHN, arrow going up to nurse with immunization.
uh-huh.
And then you identify only patient record or update going down from nurse to PHN.
Uh-huh.
My couple of questions to you is, what is the significance of immunization information going from a PHN to nurse?
So what are the
And
past
why it
records?
can be updated, why cannot be that integrated with the patient records?
Cannot be, or?
So think of this way, right? A nurse, what your arrow in the context diagram is telling me is they will do a patient record update into the system, right? But
Yes.
the way you have showed up, the PHN system will send the immunization information, will send the patient management information to nurse. Do you see where your arrows are going?
Oh yeah, yeah. Now I mean, now I understood what you mean. Okay. Okay.
So, couple of questions, right? The input nurse provides it to go into the PHN should be arrow going from nurse to PHN. The data that PHN systems will provide to nurse should go from a PHN to nurse.
Okay, so I kind of reverse the arrow.
Yeah. I think all the arrows are reversed. I think I'm looking at other pieces here.
Others too? Okay,
Yeah,
give me a second.
No, I think it's a service coordinator is right? So they're doing a patient lookup. And
that
they're
is fine.
receiving
Yeah, the billing,
records.
I'm looking at billing and clinic.
Yeah.
They both seems to be reversed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they are reversed. Okay. Yeah, that's my bad. Now
That's
I
okay,
see that.
Yeah.
Now I see that. Okay, now I understood what you meant to say. Okay. Yeah, they are reversed. Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so hang on to that, right?
Okay.
So Rati, let me ask you a question. Do you have anything different in terms of the overall, based on what we discussed and what Kashmir has showed it?
Yeah, I think I also have an arrow reversed, maybe I'm not sure. So I do have assessment, which the nurse inputs in the system. So basically the daily activities that she'll be tracking, her own activities, and patient management and assessment. All these things she will be putting in the system.
Okay.
And I don't know why I have a output for my, oh yeah, okay. I think it's right. What I did is right. It says mileage reimbursement. So the system will, calculate and let them know what reimbursement they'll get. And then they'll also get patient database from the system.
Okay, so I have a question for you. And when you say mileage reimbursement going from PHN to nurse, tell me, what does mileage reimbursement means to you in terms of scope? Is it that
so
PHN? Go ahead.
It's also a part of the daily activity that the nurse will be putting in the system. So end of the day, when the nurse is done with everything, all the assessments and, visiting the patient and everything is done and heads back to the office, or, whenever she accesses the system, they need their travel, reimbursement and.
No, but so reimbursement, when you think about it, right? There are two components of it, and you tell me in your mind what is the scope. One is reimbursement tells you, like, it's the notification in terms of it's, hey, based on your mileage, you will be accruing certain amount that will be paid to you. Or the second scope of reimbursement is not only tells you how much you will get reimbursed, but also like sends you that much money or check. In your mind, what is the scope?
No, this is just information purpose.
Okay.
I feel, because the payment and stuff will be a completely different forte. It will be the human resource and all that. So
it's just a reporting what you are telling,
just
what you are saying,
reports.
right?
Yeah, just
Okay.
inputting reports and just viewing, so the nurse herself knows, or any of her
Okay.
superiors know how much this person has traveled, and so on and so forth. And patient database, that is something they will access from the PHN, like information of the patient, their address, or what the nurse, like the prelim, let's say the in-house clinic has referred this patient to the PHN, then they should be able to access that information there as well. So I would call that as patient encounter, whatever information the in-house clinic is putting in the system. And then I've also put immunization record. I am not 100% sure, because I think that is something the in-house doctor will be putting in the system. So the arrow should go in.
Is that so? So what you are saying is the immunization should be at the part of the clinic, not
Yes.
the nurse, PHN nurse.
No.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that is correct. The immunization should be part of arrow. It should be part of the arrow from the clinic, and not the nurses, because PHN nurse, they don't give shots. I mean, they will refer to the clinics, and then the clinics will perform the necessary immunization activity.
Also, I think it's one of the key thing, and I don't know if you guys captured that or not, but remember what Herschel said it. Is immunization information going to health department? Is that in the current scope, or is it a future item?
It's not. It's in future.
Right. So remember, like some of the things that we talked about, it is part of the context diagram should also help you to identify the scope. So the way I'm kind of at least looking at your diagram, Kashmira, it tells me that it is in the current scope. It's not in the future item.
Okay, this was added because I think we were discussing about it, and I realized that I haven't added this initially, so I added this to the diagram. But do I need to add like a future out here, or is it something which we can leave at this point?
So think of this. So here is where you might want to think about it as a business analyst, right? When we talked about the Medicaid and insurance billing, the stakeholder, which is Herschel in this case, clearly said that's a future item.
Right.
So you represented it in this diagram as a future.
Right.
Now, immunization, he also said that that's a future. That's something that down the road that we will build an interface to do that.
Okay.
But the way that you have put it is essentially now we are overriding what stakeholder is telling it, that it's a future item, and you're telling that it has to be part of the current scope.
Dilip, let me correct. Yeah. Okay. So I see that the C has a box below,
Precisely.
which is immunization health department. Okay. So that is what you are referring to. Yep.
Right.
Okay. Which makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. So that box is not required at this point?
Well, if you put it that box, I would put the same thing.
Future thing here.
Put it in
Okay.
Medicaid, right? It's a future.
Okay.
So in my diagram, the clinic, the arrow goes from clinic to the system, and it says patient schedule, patient encounter, and I just corrected mine and put immunization as well in the same arrow.
That is correct.
Yeah, which is fine, right? In that case, what that contact diagrams tells me that at the clinic, in addition to the patient encounter, they may receive a immunization shots. And that information also needs to be recorded in the PHN system.
Correct.
Which is the right way to represent based on what I've heard it from the stakeholder.
And would there be, my question is, would there be an arrow from the system to the clinic? Is there anything that they will be,
I mean, obviously they will need the patient information, right? Who is being referred and so forth. So there'll be something, there'll be some activity they'll be working through from that perspective.
Okay, patient information basically. Okay.
Yep.
And I do have service coordinators, we discussed that in the class that there will be just one arrow because they are not going to access, like put anything in the system as such or make any changes, but they should be able to check progress. Check whatever assessment has been updated there. Is that right?
Yeah, which is fine. I think what Kashmira had, she has patient lookup and
Okay.
patient records going back. So I
Okay.
think which is okay.
And then
as
I
well.
have the billing user as the billing user will be managing account reports and getting the eligibility report from the system.
Eligibility reports. Okay.
Yeah.
Account reports, eligibility reports. Okay.
Yeah. So that's all I have in my diagram.
Yep. All right.
Okay. What about you, Ade? How is your context diagram looks like?
I think she's having a issue probably.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's continue then. So
right.
Harshal, do you want to like jump into then questions so that they can outline the assessment and encounter process flow?
Yeah. I think we should be fine. Yeah. Hopefully you guys understand this process now. So yep, should be okay. We can move forward with that.
So let me just specify one more time that I need to change. Here is definitely the arrows which I did backwards.
Sure.
And also I need to add in patient assessment and reassessment in the nurses functionality.
One more thing I would add is a daily activity because they will be capturing that, and it's important enough. So you want to highlight that separately.
Okay, so it's going to be like registration, patient management, daily activities, and patient assessment and reassessment.
That's correct. Yeah, immunization will move down to the clinic section.
Immunization will go down to clinic, and the arrow going from PHN to nurse would be just patient records and updates.
Patient information, you can simply say that, and I think yeah.
Patient information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Generally, I mean, you want to be a little bit generic, leave out the technical verbiage, but it's fine as well. Okay, I'm not saying it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have to put it, I would put simply patient information.
Okay. And clinics is patient encounter and immunization, and the other information going back would be patient info.
That is correct. Yeah. I think Rati has scheduling, and because since the scheduling is a one function, they want to be able to do that. So I think you probably want to put the scheduling piece as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So clinics have to add patient scheduling. Okay. And
but scheduling,
when it comes
encounter, and immunization, those three items.
Okay. Okay. And when it comes to billing, do I need to add other than manage billing and account balance? Do I need to add anything else in there? Am I missing out on something?
Fine. No, I think it is fine at that point.
Okay. All right. So I think the rest is anyways, there's not much. I just want to change this immunization records as a future, something which you're going to do in future. So I think that's all clarified. Thank you.
Okay.
You want to read out the questions, Kashmir?
Yeah, sure.
I'll make the notes. Do you want to make the notes side by side, or do you want me to send you later?
So how about this? Let's both make notes so we can just, if we miss out on something, we can always help each other out in that context when we are making the diagram, the final diagram. So we both can make our own, the way of writing might differ, but we may be able to help each other out in a better way if we both have it our own versions. What do you think?
But as long as I remember, Dilip wanted us to make a diagram as we speak to the stakeholder, or am I wrong, Dilip?
So it's up to both of you. What I would like to see it is before Saturday, based on the questions you have, it is draw a diagram, process diagram, so that we can review that first thing
Okay.
in Saturday morning.
Okay. Because
Uh,
at this point, I'm not comfortable directly starting with a diagram. I would, like to jot down notes and then try to understand the process. Like review it later and then sit down and make a
So
diagram.
that sounds good. I think that's how you would be doing it normally. So, yep.
All right. Okay. Go ahead, Kashmira.
Give me 1 second. Boys, can you please go out? Close the door. Sorry,
No problem.
I had my whole family in this room today. I don't know why.
they all want to participate in questioning with you.
They were so curious what I'm doing in here. I don't know why, but yeah, they're going to be all qualifying for business analyst after this, because they are always helping me. They really are intrigued with the diagrams. They really love them. Yeah. So, so Harshal, we are really we would really like if you could help us to understand the whole assessment process when it comes to PHN nurses project. Can you help us
Okay.
understand the whole assessment process here?
Yes, the process-wise, so the once the nurse registers the patient into the PHN, the next logical step for them to actually go schedule a call with the family, and then conduct actually go to their house and go through the assessment basically process at the family's house. Now, as part of that, believe I sent you the assessment form. So they collect a lot of different information as part of that. But one thing, what we like system to do is actually keep track of um, the travel logs and the daily activities. So which is kind of like a part of the assessment process, because it is important when they capture certain daily activity. We want to be able to identify in the system, is this for assessment they are conducting? Is this for reassessment? Is this for some follow-ups? They had it. So the assessment may not be done in one visit. So it might take multiple visits for them to complete that as well. So the system should be able to track that information.
Okay.
Any day they go there. So system, they want to be able to capture the date and time, maybe what time they left, what address they went to, and what is the family's address they visited, and so forth. So there is additional information that needs to be captured as part of the daily activity. So once they drive down there, once the nurse go there, and they will go through the questionnaire, and they will collect all different kinds of information. And have you guys had a chance to look it over? That questionnaire, it's a long 10-page form. It typically takes about a couple of hours, 2 to 3 hours at the family's house, so that they can collect all the information. And once they come back from there with that information, they will key in. They will input that information in the PHN. At the same time, they will look at all the data together and see what additional things they need from them. So that's the reason I was saying there will be multiple trips or multiple. So assessment may not complete in one sitting. So they might have
Okay.
to go through multiple times as well. Now, as part of the assessment, if everything is good, and so PHN nurse will sign off typically on a piece of paper currently. But in the system scenario, that it should be some type of electronic capture for the signature. So that in the typical scenario, once the assessment is done, right?
Mhm.
They cannot go back and modify that. It's more like a locked information. they cannot basically change any information afterwards. So that's kind of like a part of the assessment process as well. So it is kind of like a done deal. Everything is done, and the county started providing reimbursing basically them services based on her assessment afterwards.
Okay. And what is the next step which goes on after that? I mean, after the referral is made, does the nurse send it to the clinic, or how does the
Sure.
process after that works?
Yeah, so the nurse, I mean, as part of the evaluation process, so let's say the kid needs additional, like a medical equipment, anything like that. Maybe kid has a certain medical condition, they require some durable equipments and so forth. So nurse will work with the county to provide those type of things. So they will identify that as well. They will issue them what is kind of like a LOA letter, which is a letter of eligibility or something like that. Um, and that letter will basically they will hand it off to the parents as well. These are the services they are eligible for, and these are the things the county can provide for them. And then after that, it will be like a periodic checks, and then they will hand off to some other department, basically the county, like medical equipments and so forth, that will be dispatched to the child's or family's home. And so nurse will take care of the coordination, but that happens outside the system. But what the
Okay.
system supposed to do is they're supposed to keep track of all the assessment activities, related activities, anything they captured at family's house. They should be able to keep track of it. And then um, now at this point, let's say nurse determines that they need further evaluation. That's where the clinic comes in the picture for the families. So she will try to arrange basically the appointment with the clinic for the family. So the family will go to the clinic and then complete the further evaluation. Now during the assessment, if the nurse determines that hey, this child hasn't had these immunizations and so forth, she will go ahead and schedule it with the clinic at that point. So that is where some of the immunization information comes in the picture as well for the child.
Okay. So do you mean to say that the nurse will contact the clinics and the clinics will contact the patients? How does
So
the
right
chain over
now,
there in communication goes?
yeah, so right now it's a manual process.
Mhm.
But in the future, when we have the actual PHN system, so you should be able to do that right within the system. So the email will go out to the clinic for the or some type of notification will go out for the notifying the clinic for the child patient that could be coming their way. And the clinic, we might they might be able to see a queue or some type of there might needs to be a feature in the system. It will let clinic know, hey, these are the pending um, kid visits or something like that. So that's something we can discuss a little bit further in the
Mhm.
detailed requirements. But overall process wise, so there should be some notification to the clinic, some means of notification. But right
Okay.
now everything is on paper, okay, because there is no system that integrates all these activities.
Sure. Um, Let me just come to and we were also interested in knowing in case of any so who all will be able to access or get the patient encounter info, and who would be able to make all those changes?
That will be at the clinic, right? So once the patient actually visits the clinic and they will go through the encounter process. So anybody who is at the clinic, the admin staff, as well as the nurses and the doctors at the clinic, they should be able to see the patient encounter information at that point. So input it or modify it or change it or capture it within the system.
Okay, and does service coordinator play any role in this process? Are they able to see the patient records at this point?
Service coordinator can look up the patient information any point
Okay.
once they are registered. but they are not involved in this process. So, but if they want to, if the family reaches out to the social worker again, then they should be able to answer any question on the pending activities and the status and so forth, along with the PHN nurses.
Okay.
Are they a part of the assessment when the nurse goes out and fills up all the form, the condition of the patient and everything? Is the social worker a part of it?
Service coordinators are not typically part of that. What they do is kind of like an initial Q&A before the patient is referred to the nurse. But after that, they do not play a major role. I mean, in the actual service care, nurse is the main point of contact afterwards.
So you mean to say they are not present when the assessment
That's correct. That's correct.
process is going on?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, I'm trying to understand and put it down as we go. So there might be a little bit of pause, but I'm trying to soak it in all so that I remember that clearly next time when I make the chart.
Sure.
So can you help us understand the encounter process? Now we have come from assessment to encounter, and I would like to know that what are the steps we have to go through when in that process, patient encounter.
Sure. So encounter, right? So the right now it's a manual process. So PHN nurse refers the family to the clinic. And the family will call the clinic for scheduling appointment, and they will do that currently. And then they will actually visit the clinic with the child who needs the services. So the clinic, as soon as the child family goes there, that they will take the child's information, and they will take some vital and so forth. And then doctor will actually conduct the evaluation process for the medical conditions they are being referred for. So that's the standard process, and all the data needs to be captured as part of the PHN process.
So when you say the data needs to be captured, do you mean to say that clinics have the capability to add in or put in the data in PHN system?
Yes, that is correct, because they will need the ability to capture the data into PHN system directly.
Okay, so they don't have to rely upon sending information back to nurse.
That's correct. That's correct. Okay. On the paper, right? So the whole goal is to integrate the system so that it's integrated functions, so that we can reduce the paperwork, and it will improve the quality of the care as well.
So these clinics we are talking about, these are like approved health providers, right? Or can it be? Yeah, I think it will be approved only, right? Because if it will only happen when the patient is eligible for all of this.
So these clinics are the county clinics. The county also runs the clinics, and so these are the clinics. That's what we are talking about. We are not talking about anybody, private doctors or any other approved providers yet.
Got it.
Okay. And can you help us throw light upon how the billing plays any role in this patient encounter process? Is billing even an actor here when it comes to patient encounter?
Billing actually does not play any role here in the encounter process, because it strictly happens at the clinics. So at that point, there is no billing activity that will need to occur at that point.
Okay.
So when even the approved clinic will access information on immunization and like complete up-to-date information on the patient, right? Including the assessment.
So when you say approved clinics, yeah, you are referring to the county approved.
County approved, yeah.
So right now the county has their own clinics, and those are the only ones we are referring here. Now,
Okay.
if they are third-party doctors, which may be approved by county,
Uh-huh.
we are not talking about them yet, accessing the information. Because
Okay.
most of the activity typically happens at the county clinics and not at the private providers.
Okay.
Now, if they really need any specialized evaluation, that's where the other provider comes in the picture, but that's very rare. It's not a normal day-to-day scenario.
So basically, assessment is an inevitable part of the patient encounter screen.
I'm not sure what you are saying here.
The assessment, whatever assessment the nurse has done, from there it will go to a county approved clinic. Is that correct? Is my thought process correct?
I'm
Once the
not sure
assessment
about
is-
the, but I'm not sure about the screen. But only thing that so the assessment is done by the nurses,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
That in the only thing nurse will do is refer them to the clinics, and clinic will do on certain condition. If they determine, hey, this child needs further evaluation for specific medical condition, they will refer to the clinic, and clinic will do the lab reports and other activities. But they will not typically look at the assessments that nurse has put together. PHN nurse has it. If I guess that's what you are asking. Is that correct?
Clarify my doubt. So clinic, the approved clinic will only come into the picture if there is some additional checkup or
That's correct.
evaluation
Yep,
required.
yep. So,
Oh.
and that is only for specific
not
medical
for every
conditions
case.
only. Yeah.
Right. So and then you said they won't have access to the assessment, the actual assessment that the nurse did.
Actually, once we have the system, they will at some point. But right now, everything is paper process, so there is no paper trail going to the clinic. Why they are recommending this assessment? So only thing they are getting, basically the information is flowing from PHN nurse to the clinic currently without the system. It's strictly some paper form they fill out and say this they need further evaluation on these conditions. Please go and see the doctor for that.
So
So
would
there
the
is not much
PHN
information.
system?
Yeah.
Would the PHN system require this feature? I mean,
It needs to be integrated. We once we have the system, so everything will be integrated within the PHN system. So if the clinic needs access to any assessment, they will be able to look that up information right within the system from the clinic.
right. Okay. Right now they do not have access to that, but
That is correct.
once the system is up and running, it should be easy for them. Okay.
That's correct.
So Harshal, let me just run through what I got from the recent discussion we had. Is that the nurses, once they register them, they make an assessment, and if at all there is any need of additional diagnosis or tests, they refer them to clinics, and the patients will contact the clinics.
Right now, that's the process is. But in the future, once we have the system, there should be some automatic notification to the clinic. So they should be able to refer directly within the system, and there should be some notification process for the clinic at that point.
Okay,
as
so
well.
you want the system to actually generate a when the referrals go through, the clinics would be contacting the patients. It would be other way around.
They can initiate, but typically family will call next day and for scheduling the appointment, and clinic has all the information they need to move forward with that.
All right. I am kind of, I think that these are the questions we had, but is there anything else, Rati, you think of right now, which would be helpful for us? Or Aday, if you have anything, please go ahead.
Yes, hello. I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, Adeja.
Yeah, thank you. Mhm.
Rati, do you think we are all covered?
I guess so. Yeah. You want to have a look at the encounter once again. So based on these questions, we are going to make a use case for each. Correct, Harshal?
Not the use case. I mean, you can certainly make the use case diagram as well, but the main goal is the process model, right?
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
definitely want to have the process model for the assessment and link it up with the encounter process. I would say you might have just one big diagram for showing different processes, which is okay as well. However you want to do it,
Okay.
it is fine. Yeah.
Okay, it is okay to make one big diagram which can include both assessment and encounter, right?
As long as you can put all the necessary steps and you think it's not too clumsy, then you can certainly do so.
Got it. Okay. And if at all we go with the different options, it is natural to have a little bit of overlap. Is that okay?
I'm not sure about overlap. What do you mean
Like
by overlap?
certain steps might be kind of which the ones which are in assessment, they towards the end, if they go into the encounter in the beginning, is that a natural process? Is that okay?
You want to start, so you want to have clear starting point and stop point.
Okay.
So that you don't overlap those things, unless
Got
you
it.
really need to. I mean, but generally you want to avoid that.
Gotcha. Okay. And when it comes to making all these diagrams, are we going to focus more on the what you need out of the new system, or what the system is going on right now?
So typically in the real life, you will have a as is diagram, which is the current state, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then once the system goes into production, or once the system is built, what would be the new process? So you're gonna
Okay.
hear this as is diagram and the process
diagram.
to be diagram, right? So
Right.
those both diagrams you can put together so that you stakeholder can clearly understand how it will change their business process standpoint.
Okay.
So right
So you
now
want
we
like
are
4 diagrams?
no, we are only expected to show the as is status, like that point where Harshal was saying, right now there is no way the clinic is able to see the assessment, so we will have to put only that in the diagram.
So let me ask both of you a question.
Mm-hmm.
All the question that you asked Herschel in order to capture the information, was it focused on as is state, or was it focused on as is and then what will change and when it will change?
Yeah, kind of. Some points I got an idea how it is working right now and what is expected out of the system in future, or how it needs to be in future. So
Okay, so
So for me,
Yeah.
I thought that we were doing as is, but then when I spoke with him and when he was giving us a little bit more information of how he wants it in future, at that point, I was thinking that there would be more questions to ask if we have to do the 2B diagram also, because I think that we haven't have enough information to make a 2B diagram yet. I mean, there would be a little bit more details we need to ask him if we have to make that diagram. That's what I felt.
So my question to both of you is, have any one of you asked the stakeholder is what is his expectation when the system gets implemented? Is it going to focus on as is process, or is it going to focus on as is plus some future change? And if there are some future change, what is in the scope and what is outside the scope?
He did highlight twice in two places what needs to be changed in the system. For example, I'll tell you, like he
Keep
did
track
mention
of travel
about
logs.
he did mention about the sign off that the nurse gives once the complete assessment is done. So right now it's on paper, but he said that it should be in the system. That like there should be a e-signature or something like that. So that was one place. And
Okay, so let me ask a question.
Mhm.
All what Herschel said is, based on what comment you just now said, Rati, is instead of paper signature, they want an e-signature. But when you look at the overall process, I
Mhm.
still need to sign off,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So is that you're considering a process change, or is that
No.
something that you're considering the way I do the work change?
No, not a process change. No. Process. Okay, I am confused. I'm not sure because the point that I mentioned earlier about where is that?
I'll be right back. Okay, you guys can carry on. Give me like a minute. Just taking a charger.
The point where he said that right now the clinic is not able to access the assessment, but once the system is up, they should be able to access it. So I'm not sure if
So did
that
you
will
ask
be
it, how does the clinic get that information today?
Yeah, we didn't. He did mention they don't get the information.
So how do they know what needs to be treated? What is the patient's background is?
Yeah, that is something we should have dug up more.
Remember, like it's what you're drawing it is when you're drawing the process diagram, you're not telling it what will be done in the system, what won't be done in the system, right? You're talking about the business processes. So you need to first understand it, what is the business process? And then some of your questioning should be directed, is that should be taken care in the system or it's going to be done outside the system?
Right.
Okay, I'm back.
Right. So based on that, right, based on the information you have, is there any additional question you want to ask Harshal?
So Harshal, we
Sure.
would like to ask you that how, as you said in the current scenario that the clinics are not able to access the system, how does they get the patient information or diagnosis since they are not able to access it?
Diagnosis. Are you talking about the PHN nurse?
Sorry, the assessment made by PHN nurse. How does the clinic, since they are not able to see the any information about the patients currently?
Right.
So
Right.
how are they able to go up ahead with the with any kind of treatment without
So,
getting?
so nurse has to do a lot of coordination in that case currently. So
Okay.
they will make a call to the clinic, explain them, these are the things, plus they will fill out some paperwork, kind of like a one piece of paper, and give it to the family. Hey, you take this, go to the clinic. I already spoke with the doctor or whoever point of contact is, and they will take care of the evaluation. So that's how the process is currently. It's all manual and so forth, because there is no centralized system for them.
Okay. So you mean to say when nurse calls, when nurse makes an assessment,
Yep.
And if at all there is additional treatment necessary, they call the clinic.
Yep.
And give all the information manually.
That is correct. And kind of like a simple case would be immunization, right? So they say, oh, this child hasn't had this, or they need this immunizations because they haven't had it in the past for whatever reason. So they will call the clinic. They will pick up the phone, call the clinic, and tell them there is a additional BCMH patient, BCMH kid who needs this immunization. Please and they'll be coming your way, and they will schedule an appointment with you directly. So right now it's all manual, labor-intensive process for working through.
So do they have their own registration system, clinics as well right now to
Yeah,
put the
clinics have
information?
that is correct. They have their own siloed access database type of system where they keep track of the patient and so forth. But that is a separate system. They do a little bit more activity other than the patients. But there is no other system which can give them the patient information automatically. So it's all paper based right now or manual.
And when this is a different process and different registration, it's in itself,
That's correct.
whatever the treatment or the information, all those information the clinic has, they manually put that in their system. And how does they coordinate with nurse again?
Again, it's simply a manual thing basically. Hey, this kid is given, and they will communicate back to the nurse on the phone call and so forth, or the paperwork.
So clinics
Uh,
call the nurses with whatever the
yep,
treatment
yep,
has been taken care of,
yep,
and the
yep.
nurses then manually enter them in the.
In the old PHN system, yep.
Okay.
So how would you like once we are focusing from going from manual to a more um, system oriented approach, what changes are we looking at in this process?
So everything needs to be centralized. I mean, that is one of the bigger problem, right? There is a lot of time wasting happens in the communication between nurse clinics and anybody else needs to be engaged, right, in the process. So in the future, once we see the centralized system, everybody can access that and they can collect the necessary information, input into the system. Whoever needs access, whoever needs more information, they can go and look up the additional information. So if the nurse inputs assessments and clinics needs it, just matter of them looking up that information in the PHN in the future.
Okay.
Now that's where I mentioned earlier the automatic notification. So we have to build that as part of the process, so that this paperwork we can eliminate that, as well as the phone calls, unnecessary phone calls we can eliminate as well.
So Harshal, I'm just curious to know that our social the service coordinators, they have access to the clinic system too, whichever they put the patient's information, or they have just the access to the PHN system.
They will never have access to any other system other than PHN.
PHN, okay.
Yeah. And that they have access just because we want to improve the quality of the care, for just in case, a lot of times social workers are the ones they keep in touch with the families and see if they need anything additional as well, and they can work with the nurse very closely as well. So they are kind of like a second point of contact for as well. So that's the whole reason they need access to the system.
Second point of contact for whom? Sorry.
For the PHN
Okay.
as well. So
The automatic notification that you mentioned, it was for what? I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Automatic notification should go to the clinic.
so the nurse can schedule. So right, nurse has to refer to the clinic, right? So right now that process is manual, but once we have the system, they should be able to just identify within the system so that clinic gets notified at that point.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
this child is referred to you, so just wait for their call or something like that.
Okay. I do remember at some point you did mention there should also be like reminders for or notification about immunization. Is it these clinics or? is these clinics would have that notification as well through the system? Are we looking at that scope?
Um, I'm not sure what point, but typically the nurse can evaluate the child when they go for assessment or follow-ups or any other point. They can recommend the immunization, which is done, and immunization activity is performed by the clinic itself. But there is no automatic reminder, and I'm not sure that needs to be part of the scope or
Okay.
system. So yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Because nurse can always look up that information for the next when they are going through the assessment. They will collect the immunization information again, because child is they can go to their own doctor and get the immunization as well. So so nurse will collect that as part of every assessment. So I
Okay.
think you probably want to look at the assessments and see what information they are collecting. I
Right.
think that would be helpful for you guys to understand as well.
Okay.
So when you said that in as a situation right now, the nurse has to contact the patient's current doctor as well, which are not the in-house doctors, like clinic. Do they have to contact them for more information about the health perspective?
No, the nurse does not contact like a PCPs or primary care providers or anything like that.
Okay.
But when they do the assessment, when they sit down with the family, they collect immunization information. They ask them, did the kid have any immunization over last 6 months?
Mhm.
And the family can basically tell them, yeah, they did or they did not, something like that. Yeah,
Okay.
but they will not call the doctor to check their immunization. No, right now
Okay.
it's not happening.
That is not in their.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Right.
their sole source of information is going to be the family, right?
That's right now. That's what it is. But that's where the interface with the immunization for the immunization with the health department, because in the future when the PHN system is built, the next in the future, near future, we'll be having a real time interface with the health department, because all the state of Ohio, let's say your child goes to the doctor, they have to report to the health department by law what immunization this child has it, no matter which doctor they went in any Ohio counties or anywhere. So all the information is reported to the health department. So the PHN, ideally the PHN will query that information and see what immunization they have it, so that nurse don't have to ask the families, hey, what did they get and what they did not get. They can just look it up right there from the health department itself.
A centralized.
Centralized, yeah, from
yeah.
the state registry, so that that part is because it's a health issues as well, right? Because you don't want to give the kid same immunization twice. That could create health problems as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of automatic notification, are you looking for a change? Not a change, but yeah, I would like to know right now, how does a nurse know when is the reassessment up? Like when is she supposed to go next to check?
It's every 6 months.
Every
They have
6
to do by law every 6 months. Yeah.
So how do they know, like what kind of reminder they have, or like how is it working right now?
So typically, I mean, so that if we can build something in the system that can remind the nurses for the reassessment, that's ideal. So that's something we probably will when we get down to the detail. So that's something that needs to be built as part of the system, so that they right now they are keeping track on the piece of paper. They have the or in the old system, it's a centralized, but they don't have any reminder capability in the old
Oh,
system.
okay.
So they have to go and manually check. So they have, let's say they work with the 10 different patients. So they have to keep track of which one is due for the next assessment.
Oh, okay. All right. I think I have asked. You have any questions?
So we want to make. You want us to make as is diagram at this point, right? Or you
Yeah.
want?
Ideally, if you are a BA on the project, you will start with as is, right?
Mhm.
What is current process and then how it changes for the to be process as well.
Okay, so like one as is and one to be.
Yeah, one to be. I think I would put an effort. See what you guys come up with. What your understanding is based on our discussion here.
Okay. Saturday will be very amusing, I think, for everyone.
Oh, did you say you want both type of diagrams, Harshal?
Yeah, I don't think once you have one diagram, then
Yeah,
create
it won't be
as
that
is
difficult.
first, as is first, and then you take the same diagram and make changes in there. There'll be some system-based,
Mm-hmm.
some automated steps as part of that.
Yeah.
So now, how do you represent that, right? The system as well. Make sure you present the system as well somewhere on the diagram or certain steps
Yeah.
because you need to have the system shown on the diagram.
Yes.
Okay. Can you please elaborate on that?
So manual steps are easy, right? Because they're
Mhm.
all the humans in there. So you have nurse, you have clinic staff, and they are interacting with each other.
Mhm.
Now, once you have the system, certain activities needs to go through the system,
Okay.
right? Instead of the human, you might have a system in the one of the actor that you have, and you can work through that as well.
You're talking
Yeah.
about one swim lane for the system also?
Not what Herschel is talking about. It's to remember what he said that today nurses pick up the phone and talk to the clinic and providing all those detail, right?
Right.
So all of that exchange is happening outside the system today, manual,
Right.
right? And then when the new system is built, nurse will not be picking up a phone and talking to the person in the clinic. They will be just updating the data in the PHN,
Okay.
and the clinic will be accessing the PHN to pull that information.
Okay.
Some notification will be generated from PHN to the clinic, and then clinic will access the system and work through that process, right?
All right.
So you're basically telling us the difference between as is and
To be.
a diagram
be.
that will be with the
Yeah.
system.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
For example, like it first we'll put start, and then it could be something like clinic logging in into PHN, and then after.
I would avoid the detailed steps like login or something
Oh yeah,
because
okay.
they all need a login. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Then
but
there is no such system.
get information or
Yeah. Something like that. Put like
yeah.
high level
Yeah.
or the detail enough steps, but not the login type of thing.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So those kind of changes basically.
So when typically when we are making the diagram, the process diagram, it's in the format of swim lanes, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. All right. So can I ask you one more question now that came up?
Yeah.
So when you said that to add the system as one of the swim lanes for the 2B diagram, the other participants would be the same. Who are the participants for the 2B diagram? It's just when it comes to assessment.
It's going to be the same.
Just the
actors.
You will have PHN as well,
clinic.
along with the all other actors, right?
Okay.
I did come across a question. I'm not sure if it will be related to any of these. Let's see. It will be something in between assessment and encounter. So right now, how does the so once the assessment is complete, how does the nurse refer to a specific health provider? Like do they carry a brochure, or or do they like, is there a database somewhere from which they'll tell the family that okay, that this is the clinic that you need to visit, where that information comes from?
So in the initial scope, we are talking about the county clinics.
Mm-hmm.
So they know which clinics they want to refer to.
Okay,
Yeah.
pretty specific. Okay.
Yep. Specific clinics. Yep. Yeah. County does not have many clinics. They have very
Okay.
specific, few locations. So they can say, yep, just call these guys, or within the system, they can just notify it if the system is there, which clinics they want to refer to.
Okay.
Which might be closer to the family and so forth as well. Depending on where family lives, they say, hey, this is the nearby clinic. You can just go there and I'll put a referral for you for that.
Okay, it's not an issue as such that needs to appear in the scope or in the diagram. Just some handy information that the nurse gives out, right? About the
I don't think that's the process. I mean, what they give out is kind of like a information, right? But the process why it's just a referral. How they do it, what they do it, it's just a referral, right?
Okay. Yeah. Do you think we have enough information?
That will come to know when we are making the diagram. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be
That was my last question, Harshal. Do you think?
I think you have enough information to go on. Now, I don't know how much you guys, or because everybody understands differently, right?
Right.
So we'll find out, we'll see, and we'll adjust.
Okay.
And it typically it's a iterative process. So it's not like a first time you talk to the user and yeah, I got 100 perfect diagram. No,
Right.
it doesn't happen. You review with the user and user will point out, hey, this is not correct, or this needs to change here. And you go back, revise it, and then come back. So it might take like 2 or 3 iterations before you actually get it down.
So as Dilip pointed out, we missed out on one of the most important points, asking you. And other than that, do you think that this conversation should have something which we are missing right now, or we should have asked, or there is a way that we could have made it more better, the process?
See, I think the most effective one is a drawing board exercise. Okay. Which you can sit down with the user and go through the actual diagram, or start drawing on the board. Hey, this is the first step, second step, kind of like we did what we did last week, right?
Right.
Now on the phone, it's very difficult when you are asking the question, and so you are trying to write down as well. You have to connect the pieces on your own.
Right.
Right. So that's where you have to put a little bit more effort on that front. But if the user is sitting right there, you can just confirm right there, hey, is it right or wrong?
Correct.
Oh, and that's why I think you guys are emphasizing more on like starting with the diagram while we are talking to you, while we are questioning you.
Yeah, drawing board actually, yeah, diagrams always help. It's more visual, like most of the people are visual. They see something and they will say, okay, that makes sense. Okay, let's change it here to here. Something is incorrect. They can point it out.
Okay.
Also think about it, right? A diagram is worth 1,000 words. It's the clarity that it provides. One of the other thing, Kashmira, going back to your question, right? The way I would focus is not necessarily focus on, hey, did you miss anything or not, right? I would recommend is like draw the picture, right? And then reflect it based on the information you have it. Do you feel that that picture is complete? If you feel that there is some information that you feel that still needs to be clarified, then that's when you say it's, hey, let me go and capture this. And that's where the learning comes in.
Okay.
Hey, I missed that information last time. Now, the next time you ask a question, you tend to remember that and says, let me make sure I cover this angle also.
Right.
Right. So what I would kind of really recommend is once you finish the picture, you look at it, it says that, hey, if you have to explain the picture that you drew it to somebody in the IT side, the development teams, right? Whether it's a developer or architect or lead team members, whoever it is,
Mm-hmm.
will you be able to explain it?
Okay.
Will you,
So is this
are
like
you going
a
to be feeling comfortable that if they have questions, you are in a position to clearly articulate the answer?
right? So is this like a group? You want us to come up with the diagram as a group, or you want us individually to prepare our own diagrams?
I would say it's just considering we're just probably only a day away, come up with individual diagram,
Okay.
right? And let's talk through it on Saturday morning.
Okay.
And just the important thing is, right, and this is where your learning comes in, is Herschel said exactly same thing to both of you,
Right.
right? And a day captured the same notes as what Herschel said.
Right.
Now, when you three of you draw a picture, if all three of you come up with consistent, then it was very clear to everybody. If all three of you come up with a little bit different, that means you all understood information a little bit different. That means you need some clarity. Going back to Herschel and said, did you say this or did you say this?
Okay.
Right. So that's how you like it's kind of learn it, right? So the
Right.
mindset I want you to do it is continuous learning.
Sure.
How do you getting it to an interpretation, right? And again, that is always going to be guaranteed. Even if Herschel and I are listening to something, we most likely chances that at least there will be a 5% difference in our interpretation.
Yeah.
And that's when you ask the follow-up questions to understand, did you mean this or did you mean? And that's where the visual aspect is most helpful, because if there is a diagram that you are sharing it, right, then Herschel and I can quickly take a look at that diagram and understand, oh, this is exactly what you meant.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited about this. I'm sure that there would be, I don't know what we'll be missing, but this is going to be interesting. Interesting Saturday morning.
Do we want to, did you message
Hi, yes.
about that?
So I think I hope you guys received my email. We also wanted to see that how are we doing with the other project, the RFlown one. We just wanted to do that as well simultaneously. If you guys got the chance to look at it, I have sent the stakeholders a diagram. I don't know, Rati.
I did. I drew one. Yeah.
Yeah, so is there a time today that we can discuss about that as well?
So
Or do we have any more agenda on this at this point?
So I'll be honest, I haven't had a chance. I believe you sent it around like it's 5 o'clock today, right?
Yeah.
So I have not had a chance to take a look at that between that and when we started it. So I haven't. I don't know if Herschel, you had an opportunity to take a look at what they've sent it, or you want to like it's kind of hold on.
I think
better understanding.
we can hold on because it will be information overload for you guys. If we discuss this and that as well, it will be a lot of different things. You probably will end up mixing it.
Okay.
Now we'll give you opportunity to work through that. Don't get me wrong. So we'll work through that. Maybe at the last session, it's more like a hands-on project work. Maybe you guys can work through that, and I'll give we might give a different things to maybe Ankur as well. Since he has already already worked on this project. So at that point, we can work through and flush it out and build something from scratch at the end.
Okay.
Okay.
So right now just focusing on PHN.
That's right. That's right. Because I think otherwise you guys will be juggling two different things and you might mix up. I mean, that's what we have seen in the past with the students.
Okay.
And that could create issue for you guys as well.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, we just wanted to because
don't worry, you will get through that.
Okay.
As we promised, right? Earlier, as I spoke with you guys, I think specifically, and you guys will work through that. Don't worry.
Yeah, because that was a different aspect altogether. So that
Sure,
was
sure.
interesting too for us.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, if you think that this is the way we should go, then I think that's how we will. But if there is anything else you want to do alongside with this, just do let us know, because we have very limited time, so we are trying to squeeze in everything at the same time.
See, with me, don't worry about it. Okay, if we have to get in the December to work through this second project, I'll give you guys time on the Thursdays and so forth. So don't worry about the time. It's
Okay.
never an issue with us. So let's work through this, focus on this one. And I think last session let's see, I think if you guys don't wrap up everything, then it will be typically a project work, strictly hands-on. You guys can pick up from that point on
Okay.
that project.
Sure. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you, Harshal and Dilip.
Sure.
I was just going through the assessment thing. If I
Yeah,
had
for Saturday, I think, right? Make sure you guys go through the all the forms that I sent you guys, right?
Mhm.
Earlier, specifically the patient registration part, and try to understand that what and so forth, and come back with the question as well. Because I have not seen any question on the forms
Yeah, we kind of
from
missed
any
out
of
on
you.
looking at it, to be
Yeah.
very frank.
Yeah.
At
So
least I
like
did.
how many questions do you want us to come up with?
It's up to you. If
Okay.
you don't have question, then there is nothing to discuss.
It's
But if you
okay.
have,
Yeah. Okay. Because I work as a care management also, so
okay,
I may not really
all
have
right.
questions. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
understand.
Thank you.
Understand. Yeah,
Mhm.
so it depends on the background. Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah.
If you
Okay.
come from the healthcare background, you may not have much question on that because it's pretty standard.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
True. Thank you.
Harshal, so when you say look at the form and ask questions about the patient registration,
No, look at both the form, all the
yeah,
information I sent you. Just look at that and try to understand what it is and what they are doing. Right. Hopefully now you can
okay,
put a picture together with
okay.
the discussions we had where those forms fits into the process.
Mhm.
And I think we'll talk Saturday a little bit more on the actual mock-ups and so forth. So those forms will help you for that.
Okay.
It fits into that process.
Okay. So that will help us to do the next step
That's
or
correct.
the stage we
That's
are going
correct.
into.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Harshal, I do have a question. The county, the county decides which program needs to be allocated for that particular patient, right?
It's a
But that
nurse.
is,
It's a nurse. Yeah.
oh, it's the
PHN nurse.
nurse.
Yeah. BCMS, because remember they are specialized nurses who specialize in that program. So they are RN, but their focus is on BCMH, medically handicapped kids, special working with them. So
So where exactly in the flow of this whole work this falls? Because you know, um, once the assessment is done, once filling up all the forms is done, um, after that the nurse refers the family to a specific um,
only if they need
provider.
additional things. Only if they need additional things,
Oh yeah.
right?
I keep forgetting that. Yeah.
Yep.
And then the program, when is that recommended? Same
That is
time?
initially, yeah. That happens during the assessment process, or it could happen
Okay.
even before that. Yeah, the program identification as well.
So this is very much a part of the scope, right? Program identification.
Yeah, it's a normal process for them. Hey, based on this information we collected, I think they need to
Mhm.
work with this program or services basically. Program is nothing but what type of services they want to offer to the kid.
Okay. Uh, so right now, how does it work? I mean, how does is it all again paper based? Like which services are going to be offered and like all that information is on just a piece of paper?
Well, remember they all have the old system,
Okay.
so certain information goes to the old system because they don't have 100% paper based,
Okay.
right? So in the old system, they can keep track of the programs, what they signed up, what program they signed up for this kid, and so forth.
Okay.
So that feature will carry over to the next new system as well.
All right. Okay, so there's not much change in this, the program allocation, right?
No, that part remains same. That part of the process shouldn't change.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think the biggest bang for the buck is the integrated process, right? The cost is a lot of paperwork they are churning out, plus quality of care they are not able to provide on timely manner and so forth. So the integrated system will help them to do that.
Okay, got it.
So again, Harshal, when we're gonna make this assessment diagram, we have to leave out the whole procedure we drew for, I mean, there should not be any overlap between the registration process, correct?
So think through when the assessment comes in the picture. It comes
During-
afterwards, right?
Yeah.
So if you are starting out with the assessment, maybe you want to start with patient registration process, some type of box, or start with patient registration box. Maybe just
Oh,
put like
I
a one
mean,
box there.
Yeah, because
Putting
that's
it
what I
into
was
one box.
going with, but then I was like, this is kind of pulling a little bit more from the registration also, but that is okay to have a little bit of an overlap, right?
Just one box, right?
Just one box.
showing the first
Okay.
box, say
it.
registration is completed. Now you are going through the assessment process. Just
Right.
showing that, yeah.
Yeah, so that
See,
is
the
okay.
good thing is there is no wrong answer, but more clarity. Is it clear? That's all it is.
Hmm.
Now, if you change something, right? If you have too many steps common between two processes, if you change one process, now you have to go and fix the second process. That's what it is. So you have to keep it in sync. I mean, if let's say user will say, "Oh no, this is wrong," so you have to update one diagram, second diagram, and wherever you are referring all these steps. If you are duplicating those steps everywhere.
Okay.
So in real time, is that how much complicated it is? Like,
Yeah, the things can remember you are working on the project for what, how many hours? Maybe like 20 hours, right? Real time, it's a full-time job.
Yeah.
Right.
So it can get really complicated, yes.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I'm ready to wrap up.
All right.
Lot of information today.
All right, so you got half an hour, right? So maybe you want to start working on the diagram if you are not planning to take a nap. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so easily, whatever whatever information you gave, like, hardly 5% is retained. So
sure.
we have to like go back and read everything again because.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'll put the meeting as well, maybe tomorrow morning. Okay. I don't know how long it will take, but it might take an hour or two to compile and publish. So.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning we have a meeting.
No,
I
this is
think
a
the
recording.
recording.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Surya doesn't
All right.
want anything before Saturday. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
All
So
right.
you want
Okay.
us to send it through you before the Saturday session so that everything is in there with you guys?
Yeah, so what I would recommend, right, it's either you can send it if you're done sooner. If not, just make sure you have an electronic version so we can see it on Saturday morning. We
Okay.
can pull it up and then you can just walk us through it.
Okay.
Are you okay with my style where I'm just adding new
That's
slides?
fine, right? So like it's okay, right? Because you need to pull together all that information.
Yeah,
anyway.
that's my idea. Like it goes in one flow, and then I'm not opening up like 10 sheets, on my screen. So
Yeah, whatever makes you comfortable, right? So the
Okay.
key thing we want to do it is we want to understand it is the information you've captured it, and how do we go about it?
Is that correct or not? Right? Yeah, that's what it matters. Yep.
And are we making almost four diagrams then? Two as is diagrams for encounter and assessment, and two for if there are any process changes or putting system
To be
in it.
diagrams. Yeah.
Do one thing. I think make one 2B diagram, whichever the patient registration or the assessment, whichever one you guys want to pick. If you have time, then go and do all. If you don't, at least have one diagram to be,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Okay.
See how far you guys
If-
go. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So if time permits, we'll
Yep.
get to the
Yeah.
2B
Yep.
diagrams then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe we can get the rest done within Saturday or Sunday.
So
Yeah.
remember, once you draw one, the other one is very easy, right? You just
Yeah,
copy
yeah.
it and modify whatever changes you need to do it.
Yeah. Like there's hardly any modification in
Yep.
the next one. So.
Yeah, I would, the caution against what you just mentioned, it is, hey, let's do one and we'll work on the other one through class on Saturday. Remember, we have still some additional content that we need to go through it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. We don't want to.
No,
stretch
not in the
this.
class, like between the weekend. We can do it at home.
Yep.
I didn't mean that
Yeah.
we're doing it in the class.
In the class, we are just going to discuss on everyone's as is diagrams, right?
No, we have new
The
topics to
understanding.
cover actually.
Yeah.
We have
Oh.
a lot of new things to cover. We are not done yet.
Okay. Okay.
This is just an initial. I mean, the important part is still there. So
Yeah.
we wanna
whatever
make
you
sure. Yeah.
Whatever you guys think suitable, we are okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's where we want to do it, right? It is give you an assessment in terms of after you draw the diagram, are you able to capture the necessary information?
Mm.
What questions you have it around the assessment? Is that where the focus is, right? You still have to do the patient encounter, and if you have enough information, draw that. Right.
Mm.
So when we'll continue it, because you still have to build a lot of additional things. Remember, as we said, we are going it from a very high level, which we started with the context diagram, and we started with the stakeholder map. And you have to go it down all the way where you can turn around and tell developer team, here is the rules, here is what the requirements, and here are the features that you need to implement in the system.
Okay.
You're not there yet, right? Because
Yeah.
if you draw this picture, right, the process diagram, do you feel that you can turn around, give it to a developer, and then they can implement and they can understand exactly what Herschel wants?
No.
So you still have to make that journey.
Mm.
So this weekend is important. What we are saying is.
Mhm.
Alrighty, I think we have enough talk. So I'll let you guys work through. And we'll
Okay.
regroup on Saturday 8:45. Yep.
Okay.
And I think
Alright.
it will be a lot of drawing board exercise as well on Saturday. So yep. Let's see how far we go.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty. See you
Good night.
Saturday.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.